the Georgia Auburn game was crazy for one. It's kind of yet another ref show, to be honest, in multiple ways, especially with the fumble at the goal line, which actually I do think was a fumble, by the way.
I agree.
But it is like the refs robbed because I think it was a fumble, so Auburn didn't really get robbed of a touchdown. But then they also robbed Georgia of being able to return it because they just whistled the play dead for no reason.
But oh man, do we want to talk about? Do you want to finish like the introduction, or do we want to get into that? Because the way it played out is wild.
Well, I don't really plan on talking about the whole game.
Cool.
I think the officiating was the biggest thing here, and we can talk about some other small points.
Yeah,
but it was just
the weirdest part about that play is he goes up, the dude comes out of the pile with the ball, and I don't think the officials, they were coming in to like pull guys off the pile like they do on a QB sneak or a dive or whatever, to like try and figure out exactly what happened. And then the one ref turns around and he sees the Georgia player with the ball, and he's just like, oh, I guess I'll just like follow him. It was just so odd. I don't think there was a whistle. I just don't think they knew where the ball was until he was already at the 50. And then they were like, oh, well, crap. It was just it was all a mess. They messed it up so bad. They also like there was another play, and now I'm drawing. It was just the refereeing, and then the final 2 minutes of that game took 32 minutes or something like that. Was that a troll or was that the actual stat? It's like the final 2 minutes took like half.
Well, the last 2 minutes in the first half took the 30. Yeah, go ahead, JP.
The last 2 minutes of the first half took 36 minutes. And I can attest because me and my buddy were trying to leave the houseboat, but this game just refused to go to overtime, and so we left half an hour past when we wanted to leave.
Yeah.
They got the call right.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
so we all agree it was a fumble.
Cool. Yes. Crosses. Absolutely.
The freeze frame does not sway me whatsoever.
Yeah, trying to determine if a ball is moving by showing a freeze frame doesn't help because you can't see if the ball is like if he has control of the ball because it's a freeze frame. That was wild. People trying to use that.
Yeah, my biggest issue is if you're going to rule on the field that it was a fumble and he was never down, and he recovers it clearly, and he takes it all the way to the end zone like he's supposed to, then it's a damn touchdown. That is what it should have been.
Yeah.
If you called it a touchdown for Jackson Arnold on the field and then reversed it, I can kind of understand it, but I don't understand how you can make that mistake of blowing the play dead, ruling on the field that it was a recovered fumble by Georgia, and not give them the touchdown too, because it's not like this is a forward progress thing. If the forward progress was stopped, then Jackson Arnold goes down at the 1 inch line.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest issue with that, is that was completely blown. And it's, again, I'm sure Josh Pate's going to have a 20-minute segment on it again tonight, and I'll share my thoughts as well. I agree with that sentiment. Refs should have to do freaking post-game interviews. This is complete BS. It was a complete and utter ref show the entire night. When Georgia is doing the 2-minute drive, stop the clock, or not even stop the clock, stop the game 3 different times to review something that we called on the field, and we uphold the call without question. We're getting in part of the game that you don't need to be a part of, and it's not necessarily the ref's fault, because it is Birmingham that makes these calls under 2 minutes, and so my frustration goes to Birmingham specifically, because it's the 2-minute drill. That's when things are supposed to be moving fast. That's when the offense has an advantage, because the defense doesn't get a chance to get set. They don't get a chance to substitute much of it, and Auburn gets to because of that. And it was a complete and utter ref show, and they should have to answer for it.
And don't forget
to answer for it. And they, John Cohen and Hugh Freeze and Auburn players should not be fined for complaining about it, because they have every right to complain about it. And why do they have to be interviewed if the refs don't? Because they clearly, too many times, and it almost feels like more times than not, the refs have more impact on the game than the players.
Yeah.
And that just can't be the case.
Yeah.
If they're not going to have to be questioned for.
Yeah. And I think another thing that people forget about is, and it comes down to the same thing with rankings, is people who try and shrug it off and say, oh, but it doesn't really matter. Rankings don't matter. Rankings determine jobs. They determine firings. They determine recruiting. They determine bad calls by referees, determine outcomes, right? This is the NFL, but you go to the Saints-Rams PI, the Saints lose that game. They don't go to the Super Bowl. Like, if a ref makes a bad call, if the ref had made a bad call, then Georgia loses this game. Like, okay, now they've got 2 losses. They're out of the SEC champion. Like, these things determine millions. Potentially, like, when you think about television deals and, like, the butterfly effect of, like, a ref making a bad call can affect, like, millions or billions of dollars or jobs or so many other things. It's not just like, oh, he just made a little mistake. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
And you didn't even mention, we didn't get to, and we can get to it and get on, the Kirby Smart timeout thing. I saw an interesting take on it that, like, I still think the refs blew it, but it made me, like, less mad at Kirby. Someone said that Kirby came up and called timeout and then was saying, hey, the defense is clapping, which they were.
That's 100% what you're saying, yeah.
Not that he wasn't, which made me realize, okay, he's not just a bozo who is lying. Like, no, I wasn't calling timeout. I was clapping. He was, I believe, saying the defense was clapping, which is illegal. It's a false start, delay game. One of the two. Delay game.
Defensive delay. Yeah, it's a delay game.
Delay of game, which they didn't call. Instead, they just, like, gave him a redo. It was just a utter Schubert show by the referees.
Yeah. Yeah, not the finest moment. He was just trying to show that they were clapping, but regardless, he still called a timeout, and that timeout should be charged.
Yep.
Now the ref should also just call the defensive delay of game and move on. But yeah, just not good all around. I will say Auburn had like 40 yards after.
Oh, I agree.
The ball getting fumbled on the 4-yard line, which
they just folded.
Which I think they're a pretty soft team in general, and that showed yet again on Saturday night, and that's one of their biggest issues, and that's why when Andrew McBride asked how dead is Hugh Freeze in the chat, mega dead, beyond dead. I don't.
Do you think he can pitch it and like keep get an extra game out of his job if he's like, I got screwed by the refs? Like, do you think there's some okay?
I don't think so either.
Because the way they responded post the fumble is inexcusable.
Yeah.
They are in complete control of the game. I think they had 40 offensive
yards. And the players are admitting that, like, yeah, we just like really couldn't get it back together after that call.
It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable for that to happen in your home stadium as well. And they brought Hugh Freeze there not to go have winning seasons, to go 7-5. That's kind of like why Jeff Levy was hired to be at Mississippi State, is to at least get us to being 6-6 and 7-5. They hired Hugh Freeze to be 9-3 and in the playoff more years than not. And he is right now heading down the course again. They host Missouri this weekend of being 6-7, barely making a bowl game. They bring in Jackson Arnold. He's supposed to be the savior, but just like Peyton Thorne and Zach Calzada were supposed to be the savior, they have not been. So he's going to get fired. He should be fired, and he will be fired Saturday night or Sunday morning after they lose to Missouri this weekend in the Plains.
Completely agree.
At the end of the year, we should have like a Roses Award show where we like each like brag about what we were right about, because I was all over the Jackson Arnold thing and that he was going to be bad.
I mean, I think
he's not been a good quarterback.
I think we kind of all were. If
yeah.
you go back to our preview.
Yeah, maybe so. I remember being
you were 100% right.
Adamant about it. Yeah. We can each have a rose for that one.
Okay, cool.
A rose show.
I don't know how I felt about Arnold. I'd have to go back and watch, but I do know I was on the Hugh Freeze probably being fired this year. So I'll take my rose for that.
I mean, you had Hugh Freeze the first coach fired.
I had Hugh Freeze being the first coach fired, which I was wrong.
I'll take my my rose on Brent Pry